5 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Leo Koerich. You are at Dental Academy USA, and I'm here to try to make your life easier so you can pursue your path to become a dentist in the United States. I have done that. I have done this a long time ago. I applied to 3 schools. I got interviews in all of them. I only actually went to interview 2 of them because I was already accepted in these 2 schools before my interview for the 3rd school happened. So I just called them and I canceled the interview. And I've acquired a lot of expertise over the last 15 years since I started learning about how to become a dentist, because everything started in 2009 when I first stepped my foot in the United States as a research fellow at UNC. That's when everything started. Thank you guys for the feedback. Eliane, thank you. Vitor, Ana, Carolina, Caroline, and Luis, thank you very much for being here. We got over 30 people now. Today's Q&A, questions and answers. You guys can leave your questions, whatever side this is, down below, which one of the sides. I'm not sure which side it is. You can leave your questions there, and I am going to try to answer all of the questions today. I have a list here myself, that I got, that compiled from the questions you guys sent on Instagram. Some questions were exactly the same, not the same words, but the same meaning. So I compiled them into, what is really important here. And I have, I don't know, 18, 19, 20 questions or something like that to go through just in my paper. And I'm going to go ahead and also answer the questions that you guys may have here on the chat. So let's get this started. I don't want to take too long. Just please make sure you share with your friends, invite more people to come here today. To start, and I try to bundle them up in sequence as well. So if I'm talking about one topic first, I'm going to try to talk about that only, and then I jump to the next one, and then I jump to the next one, then the next one, okay? So starting with a dental student from Brazil. She is halfway through dental school, and she wants to know how can I improve my application if I don't have any clinical experience? Well, that would be a great question to ask Dr. Gabriela for my course, because she also didn't have any clinical experience. She was a recent grad from Brazil, and she got accepted into a school in the United States in her first cycle of application, her first round of application. She got accepted. Why? Because clinical experience is not the only component people are looking at when they're going through your application. It is certainly one of them, but it's not the only one. So there's so many things that you can start. And I like to say that the thing number one that you can only do while you're in dental school, and you cannot do this later, it's impossible for you to do this later. The only thing that you can do while in dental school that you cannot do later is to make sure you get a good GPA and a good class ranking. Okay, you need to rank well among your classmates and have a good GPA. That's a start for you right there. On top of that, while you're in school, you can do optional subjects, operative subjects. You can do research. You can do volunteer work. You can be teacher assistant. There's so many different things that you can do while you're in school that you don't even realize the importance of that on your application. You can do shadowing. You can work as an assistant while you're in dental school. There's so many things that you can do, but most people think that clinical experience is a must. The truth is, it is not a must. It is important in a whole scheme of things, but it's not the only thing that they're looking for. Therefore, I would recommend you to explore all of these different options for you to become a good candidate, just like Dr. Gabriela did, and she got accepted in her first round of application. Okay. Second question here: any tips to help people that are still in dental school? So basically, I just answered that question because I expanded the clinical experience question a little bit, and I expanded to many different things. I'm going to go ahead and add another notch of something else that you can do that would be very helpful for your application. While in school, you can certainly do something during your vacation time. Many schools around the world will have long vacation time, like Brazil. We have 2-3 months of vacation during the summer. So you could try to obtain some what we call American experience. Get your foot here in the United States, try to visit some offices, try to visit a school. Many times a school in your home country has a collaboration with a school in the United States, or a professor in your country has a collaboration with a professor in the United States. So that's another thing that you can do to help your application. On top of that, it never hurts for you to learn English. It never hurts for you to learn English. So it's another thing that you can do while you're in dental school. So I gave you guys plenty of tips here about what you can do while you're in dental school. Feel free to ask questions in the chat here on the right or left side, whatever it is for you guys, okay? Next question here. What is the average cost for advanced standing programs? That's a great question. And it's not too hard to answer because the cost for advanced standing programs is pretty standard, okay? If you're trying to apply to specialty or AEGD or GPR, the cost can vary significantly from 0 to over 100,000, like to a lot. So on the other hand, advanced standing programs tends to be more consistent with the cost. Usually the cheapest program that you're going to find, it's probably going to be around $80,000 to $90,000. But let me tell you that this in 2024, it's pretty rare. You're not going to find many programs at this price point. Most programs are going to be over $100,000, not like a ton over, but like just over $100,000. And then you're going to have some programs who are like, whoo, way up high, 130, 135. You have that as well. So safe to say that the majority of programs will fit right there in between $100,000 to $110,000 for the advanced standing program for internationally trained dentists. That is a great question. Let's see here. Another question here. If I get my license in a specific state, can I practice anywhere? That is a great question as well. Can you practice anywhere? So if you get your license in Florida, can you practice in Florida? Well, the answer is it depends. It really depends on the type of program that you did and what type of program that your state accepts. So right now, somebody from my course, she got accepted into a program in Georgia. It's a free program. She doesn't pay anything, and she gets paid to go through school. It's what we call a stipend. So it's a great deal. It's a great deal, but it's a specialty program. And Georgia does not accept the specialty degree as a requirement for license. They won't accept that. You need a DDS DMD program. Therefore, this doctor from our course, she cannot practice in Georgia after she graduates, even though she graduated from a Georgia school. Because you have to understand the rules of the state, and the rules of the state are dictated by the state board and not by the school where you graduated from. And the state board dictates that you have to graduate from a certain type of program. And by certain type of program, that means DDS or DMD, could be specialty, or could be AEGD or GPR. There are these three categories, okay? Now, whether you do this program in Alaska, in Nebraska, in Ohio, in Florida, North Carolina, it doesn't matter. What matters is the type of program that you're doing and not where the school is located. That is a great question and a very common misconception that people have about getting their dental degrees here in the United States. If you like it so far, leave a like down below, leave a comment on the comment box. Let me know what you're thinking about this so far. Leave more questions, and I'm going to go through all this with you guys today. I promise I won't finish this live today until I clear all the questions from this paper here, plus whatever comes up on the chat, okay? Following up, what does license by reciprocity mean? License by reciprocity. I hear this a lot. Some people come to me and say, hey, Leo, I heard that as long as I work somewhere for 5 years, I can work anywhere after that. So I'm going to do the easiest possible program just so I can get this license. I'll practice in a place for 5 years, and then I'm going to go work everywhere because I'm allowed to do that. I'm sorry to bring you the bad news, buddy. I'm so sorry to bring you the bad news, but that is not true. That is not true. Working in a state for 5 years does not grant you a license in another state. It's not a guaranteed process. You have to understand the rules of the state where you live or you want to practice in order to do that. I'll give you the fact that probably the majority of states, or a lot of, I don't know if the majority, but a lot of states will accept you. They will accept you with a 5-year experience in a different state. A lot of them will, but some will not. Two of the most sought out states that people want to go to, they're pretty amazing places to go and live. They will not accept your license by reciprocity. They are Florida. You will not accept, as the rules are today, Florida will not accept your license by reciprocity, and Hawaii will not accept your license by reciprocity. There are other states that won't either, but these are two states that a lot of people would like to move to, and they won't accept you with license by reciprocity. So you have to do what they require. That's it. That's it. There's no way around. Oh, but if I know a guy, if I went to Harvard, doesn't matter. As the rules are today, it won't happen. And I can tell you, in the office that I'm here today, the doctor that used to practice here, he practiced in he still practices in North Carolina. He's been practicing for over 35 years as an orthodontist. And in South Carolina, which is 20 minutes down the road from here, you reach South Carolina. I am in North Carolina, close to the border. He tried to get a license in South Carolina. And even though he has 35 years of experience, over 35 years of experience, never had a problem his whole life, he was not able to get his license in South Carolina by reciprocity. And he tried. My wife, on the other hand, she graduated in 2007, I think, from dental school. But she took all, even though the program was the same, she took other requirements compared to Dr. Case. And my wife got a license by reciprocity in South Carolina, but Dr. Case didn't, even though he had a lot more clinical experience based on the amount of time he worked. He couldn't get the license. So be careful about people that want to take a shortcut to go to the easiest path. I've heard people saying, which I don't even know if it's possible or not, but like, I'm going to get this whatever license and go work in Texas because Texas allows you to do with this unique licenses of specialty that's easier to get into. And then I work there for 5 years and then I'm going to go somewhere else. Well, you might not get your plan completely accomplished if you don't do your homework and understand the details. Okay, that was a great question that the lady asked here. I'm gonna go for a question from the chat here. Thank you, Vad, so much for the compliment. Vanessa here. Is it a disadvantage if you apply close to the deadline date? Great question. Great question. It depends. It really depends because there are two types of admission process through the schools usually. One is called on a rolling basis. What does that mean? They open the application cycle. Okay, they say, you're welcome to send me your paperwork. As soon as they receive people's paperwork, they start to evaluate the applications and they start calling people in for interviews as soon as they receive that. Okay, so for these schools, the sooner you apply, the better, because if you're in the very last batch of applicants and they have 15 spots, they already called 12 people and 12 people already paid their deposit. Guess what? There's only 3 seats left. Now you're competing with a lot of people for 3 seats and not 15 anymore. So the sooner you apply, the better. On the other hand, there are the schools that they say that they will wait for the deadline to be over, and only after the deadline they will start evaluating the applications. So for these schools, applying really early on may not have an advantage. Okay, may not have an advantage. What really matters is for you to get your application complete before the deadline. That's a great question, Dr. Vanessa. Let's keep going here. This is one that I hear a lot too. DDS or AEGD, what should I do? Honestly, you could ask DDS, AEGD, DDS specialty, specialty or AEGD, being a professor AEGD. It doesn't matter what words you put in here. I don't know the answer for your situation, because what makes being a dentist in the United States such a complicated process is because there are many pathways that you can take. I like to talk about the 5 pathways to become a dentist in the United States. And for your situation, without having details about your background, about your long-term goals, I really cannot tell you which option you should take. I really cannot, because I really need a lot. Anybody that gives you an answer, okay, that is personalized to you based on this question alone, do not trust that person. Just don't, because it's impossible to give the best pathway without knowing your full background. And that's why I do my personal one-on-one consultations, where in 45 minutes to an hour, I'm able to get everything, every detail that I need from your situation, and I can provide you 1, 2, 3. Some people have 4 or 5 different pathways, so it really depends. And some people have like 1, and I'm like, hey, what you gotta do, it's this thing here, and that's about it. That's your only option, you know, or your most viable option. Some people have like 5 options. They're like, hey, I did a consultation last Friday with a colleague of mine from Brazil. We were in the same dental school, and he has specialty experience. He does general dentistry. He's a professor. So he fits every single criteria to go in different pathways, you know. On the other hand, I talk to some people that I'm like, hey, you should do this here and this, only focus on only this, and stick to a simple plan, you know. So it really depends. That's my answer to you. Now, another great question here. What is the easiest way to work as a dentist in the United States? Okay. I'm going to break this down into a few, since the question says as a dentist, you know, there are some options for you out there. So I'm going to try to break this down in options, okay? First of all, if you want to have an unrestricted license to practice as a dentist, unrestricted, meaning you're working by yourself or on your own, you can have your office and all that kind of stuff. The easiest pathway for you to get an unrestricted license today, the most common, well-known, easiest path is to become a dentist in the state of Virginia, because they require 1 year of additional education, whether this is an AEGD or a GPR program. That is the easiest pathway for you to become an unrestricted licensed dentist in the United States today. If you would like to pursue other options where you may not have all the flexibility in the world, another pathway would be a limited license in the state of Massachusetts. Oh, Leo, but I heard Minnesota. Yeah, I also heard Minnesota, but honestly, it's really rare for you to meet somebody that got that license. And the license in Massachusetts is a little bit more straightforward pathway, okay? So that would be another option, but you are restricted, okay? And the third option is for you to become a faculty in a dental school, and that way you can also practice as a dentist through the faculty practice. That's another option for you. So you have these 3 options depending on which direction you want to go. Okay. You're welcome for the answers, guys. Thank you for the comments. Leave likes, shares down below. We almost hit 40 people, then went down a little bit. Let's keep going here. Ask your question, share with your friends. Let's see here what's next. Is Puerto Rico a good option to apply for school? I don't hear this often, but I heard this in the past. I personally don't know anybody who's been through school in Puerto Rico, but it's a great option. It's a great option. So far as I know, when I read the information about Puerto Rico, you do have to speak Spanish. Okay, you do have to speak Spanish to go to school there, which I don't, but plenty of people do. And it is a CODA certified school. So that is an option for you to later have your degree in the United States. I think that's a great option. If that fits your situation, absolutely go for it. Moving forward here, moving forward. Um, People don't ask me this a lot, but in these terms, but they ask me in different ways. Here's the question from the lady, the doctor. What is the criteria they use to calculate GPA? Do they consider the number of disciplines? The way that people usually ask me these questions is, what do I have to do to get my GPA? Technically, you already got your GPA because your GPA is your grades from the school. You just have to transfer to the American system, but that's actually not you doing. It's an institution such as WS West or ECE, one of these two institutions. So to answer this doctor's question here, the GPA is calculated based on your grades from dental school. In Brazil, we have grades that go from 0 to 10. In many countries in the world, we get grades that go from 0 to 10. In the United States, they usually translate these numbers into letters, which are A, B, C, and D, and E, and F, and I think F's the last one, which means you failed. Okay, A is your top grade that you can get. How do they decide it? I don't know exactly the detail, but I think if you get from like 90.1% to 100%, you know, if that's your score, 90.1 to 100, that means an A. Whether you're 93 or 98 or 100 or 90.1, if that's the right number, I'm not sure, you're an A. But as soon as you're a 90, I think, or 89.9, I'm not sure exactly what is the cutting term there, it becomes a B. And when it goes down from 80 to 70, it becomes a C. So if you get 81 or 89, that's a B. Regardless, that's a B. Okay? 91 to 99, that's an A. Regardless where you fall into, that's an A. So they will take this 0 to 10 grades that you have in your country, they're going to transfer that into a letter. Okay? And letter A means 4.0, 4.0. So it's complicated. So they get a number, they transfer into a letter, and then it becomes a number again. But that's what it is. Okay? So letter A becomes a 4.0. A letter B becomes a 3.0. Okay? So if you get A's, you got 4s. If you got B's, you get 3s. And then they will check each subject that you studied, and they'll see how many credit hours each subject has. So if you get an A in a subject that has a ton of hours, it's much, much, much more important than getting a C in a subject that has very few hours, you know? Of course, you don't want to get a C. But if you get an A in a subject that has plenty of hours, that's great for you. So basically, your GPA is defined on your grade that you have from your subject plus the amount of hours that you had to study that subject. Those are the two things, and the system is going to translate into GPA. All right, that's a great question. I hear a lot. I should make a full video on YouTube about this. My daughter just came with her grades from school just recently this week, and she got straight A's. She didn't get 100 in everything, but she got like 95, 93, 91, 98. But that all means straight A's. What is the best resource to study for the INDBE? I would say today your best resource to study for the INDBE is the free content at the Mental Dental YouTube channel from Dr. Ryan Gross. We're going to be together here on Wednesday on his YouTube channel, actually. That is the best source of information from to study for the boards. On top of that, plenty of people from my course have used the Mental Dental. If somebody wants, I still have coupons for major discounts, over 30% discount, but I have only limited coupons for that. And Also, I think Dr. Ryan has the Patreon where it's the mental dental with a little bit more details about certain things. Very affordable option for people to join and study. And the boot camp, I think it's a little bit more in detail, in depth, a lot more questions, and this kind of things. So that would be my recommendation for sources of study for the boards. Back in my day, it was books. Nowadays, I don't think anybody gets books anymore. That's kind of like it's not really happening anymore. Another question about the INDBE. Is the INDBE required for every application? I'll tell you, one of the things that gets in my nerves, it's not that people ask me this question because it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They're trying their best to understand everything. But there are people out there, unfortunately, there are people out there that spread fake news about the board and scare people about the board and say that if you don't pass the board, your life is over. Let me tell you something. Depending on the pathway that you're taking, you may not need the boards at all to get into dental school. Okay? Dr. Andrea Weisheimer, who was a good friend of mine, got accepted at USC, University of Southern California. He never took the boards to get accepted into the school. And he got into a specialty and he finished the program. Okay? There are plenty of people who got accepted into not dental programs, specialty programs, and they did not have the boards. All right. If you are a foreign trained dentist applying to a specialty, many specialties will not require the boards. I'm not saying that this is not going to help you in the application, but many times it's not a requirement. All right. On the other hand, if you're applying to a DDS DMD program, that's a whole different scenario. Almost, I would say that probably 100% of these programs require the boards. But you have to understand the program that you're applying to. And then you're going to understand the requirement of the boards. Okay? So it is not true that the board is required for every application. It's not true. But it is required for a lot of them. How important is the TOEFL exam? Let me tell you, the TOEFL exam is important in two different ends, in my opinion. First of all, if you get below the bottom line grade, you might not even get a chance to interview. And if you look at my videos from the past, you're going to see me saying, hey, if the cutoff number is 94, you got a 93, 92, email them, ask them if they would accept you and stuff like that. Because I started this course during the pandemic. Okay, I started this course during the pandemic. And even before that, things were slightly different in the application process. Nowadays, people are getting a lot more restricted with the TOEFL exam. So you should aim for at least the cutoff number that the school requires. That's the bottom line. If you want to be more competitive, ideally over 100. Okay, ideally over 100. The TOEFL exam, I think, in my opinion, is a very important exam, even though I don't think it's funny because I don't think it really assesses your ability to speak English at all, because I've talked to so many people that have terrible English that scored high on the TOEFL because they understood how to take the exam and they studied properly. On the other hand, I talk to people who speak great, but they go take the TOEFL exam, they don't have a good grade because they did not understand how the exam works. So they didn't study for the exam. They're like, I know how to speak English. I'm going to go there and take the exam. Well, they don't do as well. So the TOEFL exam, because it's the same exam for everybody, the questions may change, but the exam is the same. The way of grading is the same. Everything is the same. It's a very easy way to compare A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, to compare everybody that's applying. If I get somebody that got 120 points on TOEFL, okay, and I got somebody that got 90, and I got somebody that got 100, these are three very different scores, okay? Three very different scores, but they're very easy to compare. Now, let's say that I got three people applying to my school, and the three people have a 4.0 GPA, Okay, how do I know who's the best? The three folks came from three very different dental schools. One's from Brazil, the other one is from Iran, the other one is from Ukraine. Okay, they all got 4.0 GPA. How do I know who's the best out of the three? I don't know, because the schools are different. It's hard for me to compare something that I don't know. Now, when these three people take the TOEFL exam, if they all got different grades, I can compare them very, very easily, because the TOEFL exam is standardized and everybody's taking the same exam. So for that reason, it is so easy to compare different candidates that I put the TOEFL exam as something important on your application. All right. I just said that if you want to get really competitive, go above 100. Now, if you ask me, Leo, out of the people in your course that have over 100, how many people in your course got accepted and have over 100 in the TOEFL? I'm not even sure that anybody in my course got over 100 in the TOEFL and got accepted. Actually, yeah, I'm not sure. There might be somebody, but the majority of people that I talk to that even in my course, they get accepted with a TOEFL less than 100. Okay, that's my course experience. My course experience. Most of people that get accepted have a TOEFL less than 100. But I want, in my opinion, if you want to get up there to not give any doubt to anybody, go shoot for more than 100. Okay. There is another question here. In what situations is the ADAT required for admissions? That's a great question. That's a great question. The ADAT. I didn't get this question here today on my sheet, because it came after somebody asked this, but it was after I had my sheet printed out, so I didn't put this question here. I was going to talk about this on Wednesday, but I'm going to answer right now, Dr. Valiska. That's a great question. The ADAT, basically, I was in school when they started this ADAT kind of stuff. So I remember, I understand why they started, some rationale behind and all that. It was supposed to replace the boards because the ADAT provides you a score, but it never really, so far, it hasn't been an official thing yet. So for you to know in which situations you're required to take the ADAT for admission, you have to go to the school's website and read that information. There was a gossip that a few years ago in 2020 or 21 or something like that, Boston University was going to require ADAT and not the boards anymore for all the applicants, but they, for whatever reason, they gave up, and that's not happening right now. They're still taking the boards. I did go through a few schools' website today, and I saw some schools where they say ADAT is accepted but not required. Others says ADAT or ADAT is accepted and preferred. Okay, so if it says accepted but not required, I wouldn't even worry about it unless you have a really good grade. If they said it's accepted and preferred, I would try to get a good grade on it and submit it. Okay, because it's preferred. They would like to. So you have to read what the school application says. That's a great question. And let me tell you, if something is going to change, I think a lot over the next few years, it's probably going to be the ADAT, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong, but I think that over time, they're probably going to require the ADAT more and more and more. That's my opinion. When first started, pretty much every school was like, it's not required, but accepted. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of schools switching to not required, but preferred. Next thing you know, schools are going to be like ADAT required. That's what I think. Okay. Great question. Following here, what is the format for the personal statement? I'll tell you, personal statement is one of the hardest things that foreign trained dentists have to do when they're applying to a program, because they have no clue where even to start. And well, they don't have a clue where to start for many things. However, it's easy to find stuff about the application or the letter of recommendation, but when it comes to personal statements, it's very, very challenging to find that information. So what I'm going to tell you is that I've seen different formats. I don't know what professors do like the most, but what I recommend in my course, it's to follow a format where you tell a story in paragraphs. Okay, you talk about whatever topics you want to talk about, has a nice sequence, is not a lot of thoughts throughout there independently, not connected. It has to have a flow. Okay, and usually stays up to a page to a page and a half. Okay. Let me tell you something. The personal statement is so important on your application that I just recorded my course in English recently, and I put this personal statement lecture there because it's extremely important. Just my lecture about the personal statement, I think, lasts about an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes. Just the personal statement lecture. Okay? Because this is extremely, extremely, extremely important. That was a great question about the personal statement. I'm getting to the end of my list here. Also, we've been together for about 40 minutes so far. You guys, if you have questions, let me know in the chat. If not, I'm going to go through my last few questions here, and then I'm going to wrap it up, okay? What are the schools with the highest probability to accept non-green card holders? Good question. This lady, this doctor, she probably has done her research, and she knows that not all the schools will accept people that don't have green cards, okay? So you have to apply to specific schools that will accept you without having a green card. I have my schools that I have my preference, and I'm going to throw out there for you guys the schools that should be in everybody's application, and I'm pretty sure none of them require a green card. Number one, Boston University. Boston University is my number one school of choice, whether you have green card or not, based on, I'm saying in general, okay, for every situation, there might be the schools that might be best for them. Boston University wasn't the best school for me to apply to, but for many people it is, okay? Boston University is a great option for you. If you're staying in Boston, also Tufts University, they just recently dropped their requirement for green card, I believe. I think this might be the first or second cycle of application where you don't need a green card anymore. Tufts was one of the schools that require green card in the past. So Tufts, Boston University, Colorado University is another great option for you to apply. It would certainly be on my list if I was applying today. I believe USC, Southern California, does not require green card either. And if you are into the subject a little bit, you probably learn a few things about this. There is something in common between all these schools, and I don't know if you know what it is, but I'll see if somebody wants to mention that in the chat. There are actually a couple of things in common between all these schools. Okay, but this would be my highest probability of getting accepted. Oh, since she asked here highest probability, I'm going to tell you why. It's because the ones that accepted the highest amount of people. Okay, these are schools that accept a big number of folks, so it's much easier for you to get accepted in a school that takes 40 people compared to one that takes 4. All right. 3 last questions here before we wrap this up. This is a question that doesn't come often, but I had a consultation with somebody recently, and that became a point of the conversation. My spouse wants to apply with me. How can we guarantee a spot in the same program? Sorry to bring you the bad news. You cannot. Okay, you cannot. And I've seen couples where one got accepted and the other one did not. So if you are hoping that you and your husband or you and your wife are going to get accepted in the same program, you certainly should keep your hopes high, but don't be disappointed when that does not happen, because the programs are highly competitive, okay? And they will not take into consideration that the two of you are married. They will understand each person individually, okay? They will assess each person individually. In fact, when I was accepted into my dental school, a year after me, there was a girl that got accepted, and I'm pretty sure that her husband did not. Okay, and I think he applied in the next cycle, and then he got accepted in the next cycle, and then he was held back because he wasn't up to the standards of the grades and all that. So the wife advanced, and the husband had to stay an extra year to do dental school. Okay. Another question here. I have no research or master's. Is it impossible to get in? I don't know why people are scared about not having research or masters. In fact, the vast majority of people getting accepted do not have masters or research. Okay. But keep in mind what I said in the very beginning when I answered the very first question. The application system is a comprehensive application. You're pretty much never going to have everything on your application. You're never going to be strong in every single thing of your application. So if you don't have research background or if you don't have a master's, there are plenty of other things that you can do. Go back to the beginning of the live and you're going to hear the things that I suggested. Okay. The same thing that I suggested for you to do while you're in school, you can do after school, except change your GPA. Okay. So if you don't have that, that doesn't mean you won't get in. It is very, very possible, very, very likely that you can get in as long as you do the right things. Okay. And I'm going to finish up with the last question here. It's hard to get let me tell you, it's hard to get a final answer for this question here, or a only answer for this question. But this is what I like to say about this question. And the question is, what is the most difficult part of the application? Okay, I'm going to wrap it up with this question unless somebody else has another question for me. What is... Okay, before I answer mine, I'm going to answer Dr. Vad's question here. In terms of green card, have you come across with a situation when it was obtained before the acceptance to a dental school? If I'm understanding correctly, in terms of you came across with his situation when it was obtained, yes, I have come. That was my situation, Vad. That was my situation. I got my green card. I was already like I didn't have my green card for long. In fact, I even came across situations where people got accepted without having a green card. They get accepted, but because you get accepted, let's say June, July, August, September, and school starts in the next year, they didn't get a green card when they were accepted, but they had before they started school. Okay, they had before they started school. So that is a possibility. So for many people out there that don't have a green card, but they have been approved or whatever happened, that they have an estimate of how long it's going to take, whether it's 3, 6, 5, 9 months, you know, as long as you feel comfortable applying to school, and if you have some reserve, some cash reserve, or some co-sign to sign your loan or something like that, you can apply to dental school, get accepted, and if your green card doesn't have to come within this amount of time, you can still pay the school with personal funds or co-sign a loan or something like that. And when the green card comes, you can use your green card for the rest of the loans. Okay, that is something that can happen. Okay. And before I answer the final question that I have here on the paper, I want to wrap it up with that answer. Victor Miranda, Dr. Victor Miranda, who has a straight from Brazil name, but he's actually not Brazilian. He's from Mexico. Should we take a bench test prep course or just follow ADEX criteria? Man, that's a great question. That is a great question. It depends. It depends on your background. If you are me, if you are Leo Koerich, okay, who's been practicing orthodontics forever and haven't touched a high speed in 6 years, okay, you probably want to take a bench test prep course. You probably do want to do that, okay? However, I took a bench prep course, okay? Just so you know, I did. I invested like over $3,000 in a bench prep course. I did. However, if you are used to use a high speed, slow speed, you're used to do preps and all that kind of stuff, what I would recommend is for you to buy the plastic teeth and the mannequin and follow the ADEX criteria. That's what you should do if you are very used to high speed and slow speed and all that. Okay, that's what I would do. Now, you gotta make sure you're following the criteria right. The great thing is that they are very specific about how they write stuff for you. They're very, very, very specific. So with that being said, you know, if you feel comfortable with your hand skills, I didn't back in my day. If you feel comfortable, I probably would practice by myself. If you don't feel comfortable, go ahead and take a bench prep course. Okay. Mariana, Dr. Mariana, thank you, Dr. Leo. Any suggestions for lower GPA? Yes, I have suggestions for lower GPA. Work on everything else. That's my suggestion for lower GPA. Forget your GPA. It's done. It's in the past. You can't change anymore. Work on everything else. That would be my recommendation. Great questions, guys. Great questions. I'm going to wrap it up here with my last question. What is the most difficult part of the application process? Tell you, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, the application process is not necessarily hard. Okay? What do I mean by that? I mean that, like, if you break down the applications into pieces, into several different pieces, and tackle them individually, okay, you're going to see that the application itself, the whole process itself, is not really hard. However, you're not going to do this overnight. You're not going to do this over a week, over a weekend, or over a month, okay? You're not going to do this fast. It's going to take you several months to get this going. Just to get the first part of your application, just the very tip of the iceberg, it could easily take you 3 to 4 months to tackle. Now, can you imagine being motivated to do something that's you're only going to see the initial result in 3 to 4 months? Most people are not motivated to do that, so they don't even start. Now, you want this to get even worse? Your full result won't come for about 3 years or maybe 4 since the day you started your application. All right? So what I'm telling you is that if you're starting right now, today, April 22nd today, if you're starting your application today, you may not collect the benefits of being a dentist until 2028, and we are in 2024. You may not collect the benefits of being a dentist until 2028. Maybe 2027 if you're able to apply this cycle, but chances are if you're starting today, you're not going to get this cycle at all. Okay? So the process is extremely lengthy. It's very, very long. Therefore, most people give up, don't even start, or they go so slow that it takes forever for them to do it. And some may give up halfway through. Okay? So the hardest part of this application process to me, it's not the personal statement, it's not the boards, it's not the letter of recommendation, it's not to put your application on pass and CAAPID, it's not to improve your curriculum, it's none of that. It's not to pass the boards, not the TOEFL, it's none of that. Honestly, the hardest part is for you to be committed to go from start to finish. That's the hardest part by far. If you are committed to go from start to finish, you are going to get there. I promise you, you are going to get there. Now, if you're not committed, you're not going to do it. Okay? I know so many strong applicants, so many people that are excellent dentists that would do so well in the United States. Some of them even speak English really well already, very, very talented dentists, but they don't want to go through the process. And when they don't want to go through the process, they're never going to finish. They're never going to finish. So I would say that the hardest part of the process is for you to stay mentally focused, stay on the path, and get one thing done at a time. Some things you're going to have to do multiple things at the same time, but you have to tackle one by one. That's the hardest thing of the whole application, without a doubt. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here today. There's one more question that came from 3 different people asking what's a low GPA, so I'm going to answer here really quick. Most schools will consider a low GPA if it's below 3. If it's below 3, it's going to be a low GPA. That's what most people consider a low GPA. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here today. It was a long lecture, but I enjoy getting the questions from you guys here through Instagram. I enjoy the questions here on the chat. Thank you guys so much for the comments. On Wednesday, we're going to have a live with Dr. Ryan Gross, And my course in English is going to be available this week, and I'm going to see you guys around. All right. See you guys next time. Share with your friends, like, spread the word about Dental Academy USA. I promise you, I'm going to keep bringing interesting things here for you guys. Good evening to everybody.